Lisa wants a piece of pizza.
Okay. Let me just mute this.
Mic check.
Good evening. We'd like to invite people to their seats. We'd like to invite everyone to a seat, please. We're inviting you to a seat. What did you want?
Check, check.
Okay, good evening, everyone. If you could please find your seats, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Please make your way to your seats. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes and 9 seconds. We'll be getting started in about 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Peter Shatta is in the house. Good evening once again. We are going to get started. So if you can please make your way to your seats. We're going to get started. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, there's a few people finding their seats. All righty. So, my name is Darian Colbert. Colbert when I'm feeling fancy, and tonight I'm feeling fancy, so it's Colbert for tonight. That was a joke that no one laughed at. On behalf of Dr. Burks, her team and staff, and the Allentown School Board, we welcome you here tonight to create a conversation together. I'm charged with the task of kind of outlining our purpose for this evening, and the purpose is to talk about two different things that we all have in common in this space. And that is our young leaders in the Allentown School District and their safety and well-being. So, just some kind of guidelines for our conversation today. We are not going to solve all of the safety issues within the district tonight with one conversation, with one safety forum. This is the beginning of many conversations that the district will create, space that the district will create so we can talk and solve some of the most challenging problems in the district together as a team. We're here tonight in a spirit of we to solve these problems. With that said, I hope everyone knows where the bathrooms are. If you do not know where the bathrooms are, there's principals here that will know where the bathrooms can lead and guide you. Now, we have some really cool people here tonight. We got Dr. Burks, our superintendent. Brendan Pass, yep, you can give it up. Since I have a pretty extensive list, let me name all the people and y'all can clap at the end. Can we do that? That seems kind of more efficient a little bit. Brendan Pasquale, he's the head of security with the district. Our director of safety and security. Chief Roca, our chief of the Allentown Police Department. Mayor Matt, oh, y'all can't, okay, go ahead. Y'all do your thing. We have our mayor, Matthew Turk, with us. And we have the Allentown School Board President, Audrey Matheson, here with us. At this time, I'd like to invite Audrey up here. She'd like to say a few things to all of you.
Yes, you did. Good evening, everyone. I am very, very happy to see all of you this evening. This is the kind of community conversation we need to have from time to time on the major issues that affect us. And there is nothing more major than the student safety. I have colleagues from the Allentown School Board who are here tonight. Would they stand, please? And we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and I hope it's a very productive conversation this evening.
At this time, I'd like to introduce the mayor of Allentown, Matthew Turk. He'd like to say some things.
Thank you, Darian. Appreciate that. Buenas noches. Good to see everybody. I'm super excited to be standing next to Dr. Burks tonight to talk about safety on our school grounds. Obviously, I think as Darian mentioned, the challenges related to ensuring a safe environment across our city are huge, they're complex, but the only way that we address those challenges and the only way that we can come up with solutions is by putting our heads together. This is us working with you, all of us working together to address these issues. I'm glad there's a few folks from the City of Allentown team here. If you could wave your hand just so that people know. I think a lot of folks have the badge on their chest, but a lot of awesome folks from the City of Allentown. This is something that we are committed to doing with regularity, which is convening these conversations where we can put our heads together and address the complex challenges that we face together. This is primarily a conversation around safety and security on school grounds. City of Allentown is a partner to the Allentown School District in that work, but this is principally a task for the Allentown City School District. We'll give them all the support that we can muster. I've committed as mayor to being an ally and an advocate for Dr. Carol Burks in her work to provide the best environment possible for our young people. I've committed to being an advocate for the Allentown City School District across the Commonwealth and across the nation for make sure that all the needs that the district has can be taken care of. And I've committed to making sure that we in our city work make everything as smooth and as simple as possible to make sure that all of the needs of our young people are taken care of. So that's our commitment as a city of Allentown. And my commitment to you is to be an active partner in dialogue to help resolve issues related to safety and security on buildings and grounds of the Allentown City School District. So, muchísimas gracias, shukran. Thank you for being here tonight, and I'll hand it back over to my friend Darren Colbert.
I also noticed that the president of City Council, Dow Hendricks, is here. Can we give it up for Dow Hendricks? And we also have the executive director with the Parking Authority. Can we give it up right there, back there at the same table? At this time, I'd like to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Burks, and Brandon Pasquale to share some thoughts with you this evening. Dr. Burks, Brandon.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone this evening? Yeah, good, good. Thank you for coming tonight, and I'm really excited tonight, and my heart is very full. Just think, all of you are here because you believe in the 16,300, I think this week, students who attend Allentown School District, as well as the 22 employees who are entrusted in their care. You care about them and their safety. And I'm so excited to hear and learn with you and how we will work together tonight for the next hour and 40 minutes or so on using our collective geniuses to help ensure that we create structures, systems, and build on the current ones we have to keep us all safe. How many students do I have this evening in the house? Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Teachers. Okay. Woo, woo, woo. Administrators. Woo. Yes. Community activists and leaders. Elected officials. Parents, madres, padres. Aunts, uncles. And I want to thank, of course, our school board of directors for being here. They are my bosses, so please give them a round of applause. Woo! I want to thank them for being partners with me in this work. And I want to thank the mayor, of course, and Chief Roca, and everyone in the city. And I want to thank my friend, Attorney Gavin. He is the district attorney for the area of Allentown. And I see him in the mornings when I'm going to work, and we get to have some very enriching conversations. So I want to thank you tonight for being here. Let's give him a round of applause. Woo. So today, we have a quick overview for our time together. So every decision that we make as an organization is anchored on our foundation. They are mission and vision centric and are aligned to our core values. Tonight, we're going to talk about current policies and procedures that we have in place in order to keep us all safe in the district. We also are going to have some time where there's stakeholder engagement. That's just a fancy way of saying all of you get to talk to each other and come up with some solutions together so that we can inform our thinking and our practice. Sometimes in education there's lots of conversation and intellectual discourse, but we're going to put some things in practice that we can collectively work on together because we are one team, one Allentown, and that's why we invited everyone across the city to be here because we are in partnership with each other. We're going to talk about our next level of work, and we're going to have some reflections. You're going to give us feedback on how we can add to this discussion and continue. And what people are learning, I haven't been here long, even though it feels like about 25 years, but it's only been a few months still, and so we'll talk about our collective work together and how we move forward. And those are for the left brain, right brain thinking, because I'm always an educator Here's our foundation as an organization. Next, we will move on. Who's clicking for me? Okay. Mr. Pasquale is our Director of School Safety. He's going to talk a little bit about our current procedures, things that we've done thus far, and followed by Ms. Pollock, who's also going to join us in this conversation, as well as Chief Roca. So we have Mr. Pasquale and Chief Roca coming on to go over some of our policies and rules that we have in place. Now, I want everyone to pay very close attention to this part, because this is about students' rights, also things that we have, structures in place that we have to follow based on the Pennsylvania Department of Education's acts and statutes and rules, as well as policies that our school board of directors, the people over here, that they have adopted so that we can ensure safety and security here. So, Mr. Pasquale.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So safety and security is our top priority. It's paramount. But the thing to understand is that we can't do it alone. And our premier partner in this is going to be Chief Roca and Allentown City Police Department. So on there you see the memorandum of understanding, and that basically spells out for us the communication and cooperation between the district and between the police department. So if Chief Roca would like to come up and say a few words.
Thank you. It gives me great pleasure to be here in front of you tonight. I want to say that I was a freshman here in what used to be the Annex building when it was long ago before the renovation. But we take safety and security very seriously in the Allentown Police Department. And this relationship is about collaboration. And with the memorandum of understanding, that outlines the rules in which we operate within the school. My intention as Chief of Police is not to engage in a prison to pipeline output. It's about diversion, it's about educating our children, and utilizing our relationships with our school resource officers. And as you know, I just want to point out that we have Officer Owens here today, who does an outstanding job here at the school, and if we give him a round of applause. I will tell you, it takes a special person to work with children. It takes a special person to motivate and empower our children. I was one of those kids. I still feel like a kid, but you know, we grow up and we have responsibilities. But the thing about the memorandum of understanding is that there are specific rules, and if you want to review that, it's available online on the school district website underneath the memorandum of understanding. And you can see all the things, but there are certain reporting requirements that the school district has to follow in which we get involved. But we do engage, and through the district attorney's office as well, we do engage in diversion. And this means that a child can make a mistake but become stronger for it. We're human, we make mistakes, right? But it shouldn't paint a tag on that child that will prohibit that individual from getting their career aspirations or achieving their goals. One of the best things that I always talk about when I became Chief of Police was, I'm going to break down these silos, and I am doubly happy that this is happening here. And with this MOU, there are things in there too that can be diversionary from the jump that the police department doesn't get involved in. That's at the discretion of the school. So teachers, staff, administrators can look at that and determine what is the best approach. It's not just black and white, right? There's different various areas that we can go into. And this is a key thing because we want our school, especially our children, our teachers, our staff, the administration, my police officers that are working in the various schools, to be safe. What we don't want to see is a situation where we don't know what's happening or what's going on. And that brings our other partner, the parents, the people at home. We want to make sure that we have this collaboration, this relationship. And what this MOU does enhances the safety approach and the communication. Oftentimes you'll see that we put things out on our social media or out in the news, and these are ways that we can keep in contact. I would also recommend to follow us on our Facebook, and also I do a podcast, usually on the month, to talk about crime that's happening in the city. Some exciting things that are going to happen in the future is I spoke about a dashboard that I want to release. It's going to have internal and external usages. So regardless of what area you live in the city, you will be able, as a public member, to access that website and see what's going on. because I have nothing to hide. If there's crime that happens, I want to hold that person accountable. And one of the things with that is a big key in solving crime, believe it or not, is the help of the community. I often say, I didn't take this job to police the community. I took this job to police with the community. That little nuanced difference there is what's going to set the tone for us going forward. I want to commend Dr. Burks for the effort that she put together, and Brandon Pasquale as the safety director, because we can work together and enhance and make that document a living document. Dr. Burks mentioned something about having that communication, and that is the key to making forward progression in our city, in our school district. I talked with Dr. Burks when I first met her, and we did a podcast, and I invite you to look at our history and review that. And one of the things that's clear there is that Dr. Burks is passionate about safety, passionate about providing a solid education for our young people. Now, there are times when situations happen when a child may get in trouble, right, and it results in legal things. But what I want you to focus on is how can we prevent that from happening? How can we as a community come together to ensure that we have the capability to reach out to those that maybe are involved in some issues? And that starts with all of us, right? Sometimes you hear it takes a village. But what this has here is that living, breathing document of the MOU. And I want to tell you to please review that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me and ask. I'll also say that if you see things, please report. That little maxim of saying, if you see something, say something, is very accurate. And that brings us to our Safe to Say Handle with Care. If you're not aware, our Handle with Care is part of our trauma-informed care piece that we do, in which if a police officer comes across a scene, maybe like a domestic violence or something, and there's a child present, our officers will do a Handle with Care submission. And in that Handle with Care submission, it alerts the school that this child was involved in a police incident. And what happens is the teachers don't have to know what that incident is, but they give special care to that child. Perhaps needs a break, or perhaps needs to talk to a counselor or guidance counselor. So these things are in place. And then the Safe to Say is when, if there's a situation that happens, it gets put forth to us and we check it out. And you have seen that through the past. One of the things I want to say is it is very important, especially young people, to make sure that we're doing the right things. So make sure that if you see something, say something, and we're here for you. So I just want to say thank you for being attended, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, to get going here, we're going to start talking about board-approved safety policies, just kind of give you guys a little bit of education on what the existing policies and procedures are. School officials have the authority to lawfully search students and their belongings with reasonable suspicion. Tobacco and vaping products prohibits student possession, use, purchase, sale of tobacco and vaping products. Controlled substances and paraphernalia prohibits students from using, possessing, distributing, and being under the influence of any controlled substances. Weapons prohibits students from possessing and bringing weapons and replicas of weapons to school. These are the responses to any of those violations. They're typically going to be a level 3 or level 4 violation. These are current incidents and where we see them today. This is use or sale of tobacco and materials. So 63 incidents in the 22-23 school year. Possession or use or sale of vaping materials. You can see why that's such a big issue for us and concern. 1,479. A little disturbing too, they're showing up in the elementary schools. Controlled substance incidents, 496. Weapons, look-alike toy incidents. Actual weapon incidents, 547. This is the breakdown that we've seen over the years with guns and knives being recovered in the schools. 4 guns, 245 knives. Ms. Pollock is going to take over this portion of the, there you are, you're hiding back there.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tiffany Pollock, and I am going to take the next few minutes to briefly share the results from our safety survey with you. We had 7,840 respondents take the safety survey, which is a very high number. We were excited about that because we wanted to be able to get the information that we need to make some our good decisions around safety in our district. 66% of those 7,840 respondents were our students. I think that number was high mainly because they were given the survey in class. I'll be reviewing some of the key questions from the survey. If you'd like to see the entire survey, you can request it either on our Let's Talk, or I don't know where Melissa Reese is, but she can also provide all of the results for you. However, tonight we'll review some of those key questions that will really give you an idea of overall safety in our district and how our stakeholders feel. So again, our students, staff, parents and guardians, and community members took the survey. The first statement, if you can change the slide. Okay. I feel safe outside around the school. 77% of our students, 56% of our parents and guardians, and 63% of our staff members reported that they feel safe outside around the school. The second statement, I believe weapons detectors may be an effective way to reduce violence in schools. You can leave it on that slide. I just want to make sure that I have the numbers. If you look, I want to make, okay, got it, sorry. 78% of our students believe that weapons detectors may be an effective way to reduce violence. This particular statement is over 3 slides to really break down the responses from students, staff, and parents and guardians. The staff responses were very similar. I believe 75% of staff said that they believe weapons detectors may be an effective way to reduce violence in schools. And alike parents and guardians, I believe the total was also, doing the math quickly here. Sorry, I'm out of, if you guys can get it faster than me, it's not there, but higher than 75%. So between our staff, students, and our families, the survey responses were very similar and high with that particular statement. This next statement is, I feel that having metal detectors in secondary schools may be disruptive to the school environment. With this particular statement, students, 53% of students agreed or strongly agreed that metal detectors in secondary schools may be disruptive, compared to 23% of parents or guardians and 41% of staff members. Those percentages may be a little higher due to coming in and out of school and that being part of potentially the disruption. No, they're all still the same. Okay. The last slide, which you can't see right now, just speaks to some of the emerging themes that came out of the survey. So part of the survey gave respondents an opportunity to provide open-ended questions. Those open-ended questions, there were a number of responses around metal detectors, I think I see it back there, and how they're a good first step in creating a safer school environment. Also, there were responses around how our community, parents, students, and staff feel about our school resource officers, our safety officers, and proper training for those who respond to incidents. The increase in mental health supports and how important that is. So our school counselors, social workers, clinicians. And last, ensuring that we implement accountability for students that negatively impacts the school culture, for student behavior that negatively impacts the school culture and climate, which they included fighting bullying, disrespect, and cutting class as some of those frequent behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. So we want to share the survey results so you can see visually, and so we're working through getting the boards up to our conversation about the responses for our stakeholder groups. And as we mentioned, more than 7,000 people responded to our surveys, and 5,000 of them were children. So I was able to talk with our fantastic, lovely jewels, our student leaders at the 3 high schools, and I engaged them in some discussions and focus groups about their feelings about safety in our schools. And so one of the questions I asked them, what safety measures do you believe are the most important in our schools? And you look here, they mentioned weapons detection systems, bullying prevention programs, as well as stronger discipline for students who exhibit inappropriate behavior. Now that came from the students, not me. What suggestions do you have to improve mental health, I asked them, and well-being in our schools? And in this session, and when I was with students, I had members of my team, I just want to put this in context, and a school psychologist, because I want to make sure that we were able to capture some of their thinking, so to inform us working on students' emotional safety and social-emotional wellness, and not just the physical safety. Their responses were, they wanted more school counselors and therapists in schools. They want to build stronger relationships with their schools and get a sense of more connectedness to the school and community. And also, just overall, more emotional supports. Many of the students said, I need to feel like I can talk to someone every day, just for me, and he will keep my conversation confidential. And what I share with them, sometimes some of the things that you say, you want to say, keep it confidential, but we are obligated to keep you safe. And so we may have to say something, but in as much that we can keep the things you share with us safe, we will. We talked a little bit about how they become more there's a sense of belongingness. And I talked to the students and told them about my experience. I used my college experience, in which when I went to the best HBCU in the country, Hampton University, yeah, when I went there, when I first arrived, I had a student leader. And that student leader, and we had a group of students, about 25 students, and that person was responsible for us. And then later on, after we finished our first week, we had a big sister or a big brother. And so we felt a sense of pride because we were connected to a bigger group. And to this day, and I'm only about 25 years old. Everybody's supposed to laugh. You're laughing for it. Okay, so I still call that person my big sister, my big brother, this many years later. So we want to create those conditions so students feel that connectedness to school. And what they said to me, they wanted more engaging lessons in classrooms, where there was more authentic learning experiences, where they could make things and do things in classrooms. They also said they wanted more mutual respect between the adults and the students and peers to peers. They want to build stronger relationships with each other, and they wanted to differentiate better needs for all students. So basically what they said is, we want multiple pathways and opportunities to have this schooling experience. As a district, we've been engaging in, this is many of several conversations that we will have, and several active conversations. As I mentioned earlier when I greeted you, we have lots of intellectual discourse in education. And everyone is an expert in education because we all went to school. But we want to have an active involvement where we do things that are measurable that we can see. So back in the summer of 2022, if you look here, we added additional safety officers in our schools. We completed a construction of a secure, safe spot at Jeriff High. So if you go in, it's all glassed in. We conducted professional learning for our principals back in March and our other central office leaders about students' rights. Because it's one thing to think about safety, the physical environment, but also students, and for my students listening, you have rights. And so we restructured our student handbook so that you can see all the things that that the organization, in terms of policies and how we should respond to you. Additionally, so we brought in our counsel to explain that. We hired a director of safety. Please give Mr. Pasquale a round of applause. As before, we didn't have a director of school safety. The school board approved a purchase of our vape detection systems, and we're going to explain how those work in a little while. And I'm telling you about the conversations about safety and searches and all those things happen beforehand so that you as families in the community will empowered to know that, as Mr. Pasquale mentioned, as a district, if we have reasonable suspicion, we can search students, but respectfully. So we're not attorneys, we're not the assistant DA, we're lay people, we're educators, but we think that students have something on their person or they're engaged in activities, we have the right to search their lockers, their book bags, but respectfully. And we will always have an administrator present, in some cases, when appropriate, even a social worker or some clinician present at the time, and of course, our safety officers or police officers. As a district, we joined the American Association of School Administrators. This was a national organization, a mental health cohort. So we have individuals who are engaged in a national group so we can learn as much as we can to help support our students. We also have convened a social emotional learning task force that's being co-led by Representative Schosberg. He is a strong advocate of mental health, so he and Mr. Sickett, as well as the representatives from LVHN, we have a task force, and we are inviting, so all the mental health providers who are in the room, we invite you into this conversation as well, so that we can be armed with how do we keep our students emotionally safe, set some objectives and metrics so that we can ensure that we're using the best practices and research. We also issued a RFP to increase mental health supports. So we have received some proposals in. We are going to pilot at some of our schools the work on social emotional wellness. Now's the time that you all, everyone in the room, gets an opportunity to talk. And I'm a language arts teacher, so I use all those protocols that we use in classrooms. We're gonna think and we are going to share. I think here we go. He's gonna come back and explain, Mr. Darian's gonna come back and explain. Now, we're gonna see how quickly we can do this. Now, when I did this in my classrooms in 7th grade, and there were 30 of them, it was a little tricky. But we have mostly adults in here, so I'm sure we can do it a lot more quickly than the kids in my 7th grade class. Mr. Darian.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bergson. Company. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to break out into our small groups. So once you got your name tag has a key phrase on it. Jeannie Garcia and Zally are in the house. Good to see you. Oh, snap. Promise neighborhood. Anyway, you're going to gather into your groups based on that key word. That's your small group, okay? So if you did not get a tag with a name on it, please see Melissa Reese, okay? Now, I'll have one guideline for our time together. I want to share two things, but one guideline is mutual respect. When you're inside your groups, mutual respect simply means when someone's talking, you're listening, right? And also mutual respect means do not monopolize the time because everyone wants to share. So I'm going to encourage you, just mutual respect, that's the only guideline that we have. And I want to encourage you, this is a solutions-based conversation. We're here to try to attempt to solve some of the challenges that we have and want to create a really good conversation heading us in a direction towards what's next steps, what can we do right now. So once again, it's solutions-based. So with that said, please, if you have a name tag, please find your group. So wait, we have groups around the, okay, so one's right here. We have number 1 right here. We have number 2 back there. We have number 3 somewhere, because I don't see it, but 5 and 7. So I need you to go to where your group is. 6 is back there and way in the back, so please find your.
So will all the group leaders please stand? Everyone is assigned to a group based upon the phrase in the back of your paper. Yeah, but they were supposed to have Okay, each poster is numbered. So if you find the numbered poster, the question is on the poster.
So, Melissa, so which group did you want to put him in?
I think I'm not sure some of the groups might be too large, but I'm going to make a second group for some of the other.
Okay, we're working on second group. Also, while you enter into your groups, we need a timekeeper and a note taker. A timekeeper and a note taker as you enter into your groups. Marcy Lesko is in the house. Best practices is number 7. Safety measures is number 7. I'm going to walk around this room and say it out loud. Best practices over here as well. Well, that's 3 best practices. We have number 8, student engagement. Number 8, student engagement and safety measures is here in this corner. Number 8, student engagement and safety measures is in this corner. I know that's good. Boys? Hey, how are you? Oh, yes, how are you? But now you're running everything, right? Good for you. Good for you. Wow. Danny Dugan. Group number 5, safety measures. Number 5 is right here. So this activity, we have 15 minutes for this activity. So we have 11 minutes left. 11 minutes left. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. We have 5 more minutes. Timekeepers, 5 more minutes. Alrighty, everyone, here are some basic instructions for you right now. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna call this the gallery walk. We'd like you to walk around and see everyone's, what they wrote down on their little notes, walk around and view it. This is the gallery walk, look at it. Team leaders, if you wanna put some dots on the ones that people really, really like, you can do that as well. Team leaders have dots, so please make your way around the room and look at everyone's notes, please, and put dots on things that you really, really like. We will give you 3 minutes and 53 seconds. Once again, if you could please make your way around the room just to look at all the things that took place in this room, everything that people wrote down. Highlight the ones you really like, so please, this is a gallery walk. So please make your way around the room, check out everybody else's. Anything you see that you want to highlight, team leaders at those posts have dots to highlight those things. Alrighty, cool. I think I see some of you moving. Make your rounds, looking at other notes. Alrighty, I was just informed that some of you don't have dots. You can always use markers to highlight the ones you are super interested in. If you do not have dots, you can always use the marker to put a star next to the ones that you do like. Okay, can you please find your seats? Can you please find your seats? We are going to continue our conversation. Thank you so much for participating in this collaborative exercise. Yep, I like what she's doing. You can take pictures of what people have written down. That would be awesome. So if you can please find your seats, we'd appreciate it. So once again, if you can please find your seats, we're going to close out our time together. Thank you so much. Please find your seats. Here you go, Dr. Burks. So right now, I'm going to bring Dr. Burks back up here, and we are going to review solutions and some next level steps.
Okay, at this point, we've invited everyone back to their seats. Thank you. We're all back in our seats. Thank you. How did that feel to talk with colleagues from all across the district? How did that feel? Show by round of applause. Good. I was able to hear some of your conversations, and they were quite enriching. We also had you go engage in what we call a gallery walk in education. When you go like in the museum and you go look at the artwork and everything, we had you go to each poster so that you can see what all of our colleagues and friends in Allentown were saying. So what happens next is the information that you provided, we will do a few things because people ask me this. We're going to put the PowerPoint presentation on our website so that everyone will have access to it. Additionally, we will capture what you said and give you the emerging themes that we heard based on the discussions. All those things will be on our website. Now, we want to let everyone have an opportunity to talk, so we did it this way, because if we would have said, you stand up, we'd be here all night. So, but I want to thank you for sharing your intellectual capital with us. And please know, I know we're getting to know me in this community, but we follow up and we communicate. But we just need you looking and contacting us if we haven't covered some information that you need to still learn. Next, we're going to talk about some active steps. We're going to show you some of the things that we have underway at this time. Next one, that was your gallery walk. Our next level work as an organization is, as I mentioned, we're in the midst of developing a whole child framework in which we're working with mental health providers, our partners throughout the city, and we are also a part of a national group, as I mentioned, through the American Association of School Administrators called a mental health cohort. And we have a team visiting other districts throughout the country, and we're using the ESSER funding and Title II for people keeping notes. We are so that we can have people learn more about what's happening to inform our thinking. We are exploring additional counseling supports throughout the city as well as through other providers, creating multiple pathways. As I mentioned previously, we are creating theme-based schools across the district, and our first school will open next fall with the Da Vinci School project. And we have a team of counselors who graciously volunteered to help us in our theme-based development, as well as we will develop school governance councils. We're engaging all of our staff in our search process, And Monday, all of our administrators, safety officers, and other staff, I think I covered, it had a presentation and will continue from our council, learning about students' rights and searches, and they will have those sessions quarterly to make sure that we are current with best practices on how to keep our students physically as well as emotionally safe. Tonight, we're going to give you a brief overview of the vape detection systems in which we will install. Our school board of directors have already approved these devices, but we didn't want to just turn them on without education. So as I mentioned, yesterday was a professional learning day. Monday, or Tuesday? Yes, yesterday was a professional learning day, so we learned a lot more about what constitutes reasonable suspicion. We had scenarios which came from our school teams to learn about what that looks like, as well as we're going to give you an overview of the weapon detection systems that we researched and that we will recommend based on what our stakeholders have provided to us to our school board of directors. Now I believe I'm building on the collective strengths of individuals, so I'm gonna call up our director of safety, and he's going to explain to us how the vape systems work. I know some members of the press and others asked, like, why are we having the same conversation about vaping and metal detectors in the same conversation? So he's going to explain that because one aspect of the vape detection system also identifies aggression. So if aggression is happening in an area, we will be alerted. So that's why we're mentioning that. And also because it relates to searches and seizures with individuals and our children and such, so we want to explain that. Mr. Pasquale, and he's gonna talk in the mic this time. Okay.
Sorry, I'm new to the whole mic thing. So vaping, why this has become a priority for us. You saw the statistics earlier. I'll read from the screen a little bit. It's a little bit hard to see. But first and foremost, it's addictive. It reduces impulse control, memory, mood disorders, causes vomiting, headaches, nausea, higher risk of heart attacks, cancer, reproductive problems, and asthma. So obviously all issues and concerns for our students and the safety and their well-being. The vape detection systems, as they're commonly referred to, but more importantly, smart sensors, because they can kind of alert us to a bunch of different things. So there's vape, aggression, masking, tampering, and THC activations. So if you look at the screen, they've been up for a week, and that's the number of activations that we've had. The weapons detections, we did some research and found out schools that were similar to ours, demographically, and they're the different places that are using them. So that's kind of what helped us look into it and see what everybody else is doing. We're not the first to consider them. The weapon detection specifically that we had researched and that we're looking at looks like this. They can also be decorated with your school colors and names and all kinds of stuff. They kind of go as sleeves over top of them. The other thing that these do is that they are weapons detectors. So you can go through it with a school bag, you can pass through with whatever it is that you're carrying on you. They specifically are looking for weapons. I'm not sure how I get this video to play on here. It's a quick video demonstration of them in use.
This video will inform students and visitors about the school district's new weapons detection system, OpenGate, and how it works. OpenGate is designed for the automatic screening of people with backpacks and bags for threat detection. It will also identify other contraband items that are not allowed on school property. OpenGate screening is fast and automatic, requires no removal of backpacks, bags, or purses, and it's designed for easy walkthrough flow. Students, when you arrive on campus, you should have your Chromebook out and ready to hand to a staff member before walking through. Retrieve your belongings and continue on to your destination. However, if the light at the top of the pillars turns red, a staff member will pull you aside to a designated search area and perform a search of your person and backpack or any other bags you may have on you. If a weapon or contraband is found, law enforcement will be notified. Reminder, all students and all visitors to campus during regular school hours will be required to enter through the open gate detection system and are subject to search. Your safety while at school is our top priority. We thank you for your patience and understanding as we implement this new security system.
So that concludes the presentation. I'll turn it over to Dr. Burks.
So thank you. So at this time, we actually disseminated some postcards, and we were able to capture some questions. Ms. Reese, do you have the questions? Okay. So at time, we have a few minutes to answer a few questions before we conclude. And I just want to make sure, because I like to be a good teacher, make sure I close the lesson. So tonight we started with talking about, one, some of the data that we collected throughout the district as relates to weapons and safety. We also shared with you various policies and procedures that we have in place in the district as it relates to safety, searches, and students' rights. I want to, for the parents and the students in the room, we have our student and family handbook is on our website, and you should have received an actual book. And I always encourage students to keep that guide in their backpacks, because those are your rights. And you know, no one can just say things, or you have rights as students. Where are my students? You have rights, and you should be aware, as well as families. Additionally, we want to give you an overview and an opportunity to engage in the conversation. We showed you what you told us in terms of surveys, your survey responses, and we gave you an opportunity to engage in dialogue about what you thought about safety, and we gave you your dots to prioritize where you think we should place our focus. So tonight, after everything that we've said and what you've contributed, we have some time for a few questions, and then we're going to reflect tonight. So, any questions that we can answer? And I'm going to call Mr. Pasquale, Ms. Pollock up front, because there may be some questions about mental health. And Dr. Sanchez, if you could just come up with me for a moment. I know you weren't prepared for this, but they may ask some questions as it relates to mental health, and she's our lead psychologist who's also here. Let's give them a round of applause. So are there any questions? Wow, we did well. Yes.
What systems do we currently have in place for safety measures for our students and staff?
So currently, of course, we have some human capital resources. We have safety officers, we have school resource officers, we have, in our district, we have some cameras, we have many policies and procedures in place. We also have our school clinicians as well to work on students' emotional safety, because we're not just presenting on physical safety, but also emotional safety. So we have a number of school counselors, psychologists, social workers, and we have partnerships with our community providers. Also, they're in our schools, working with our students and their families to help keep them safe. So we also have in the district, we do have some current wands, but we are not wanding students at this time, but we do have some wands in the district that we can execute if we feel that it is necessary at the time. So, and we have currently, as we mentioned, we're going to present to the School Board of Directors our recommendation for safety to install safety detection systems, and we already have installed our vape detection systems, which we made the correlation for you, is that they're sensors. So if there's aggression happening or there's an unsafe condition in the school, we can be alerted to make that happen. We also have avenues like Safe to Say, in which students can contact, or adults, and give us an alert there are safety things that are happening that are unsafe in our schools. And we also have Let's Talk as an avenue, and we are exploring other mental health providers to provide more on-demand support as it relates to mental health. So I think I covered some of them. For my team, I want to make sure we covered them all, because did I cover every? Yes.
Do we not still have the system Alice, or the active shooter system we had, which we did several years ago? There was a phase 1 and phase 2 that some staff was trained on. Do we currently still have that system? And if we don't, do we plan to implement that system again?
Can you respond to that?
So we're looking at that currently. So Alice, yes, we did use it. Yes, it's a costly system. We had a number of instructors within the district with COVID and everything else. They have expired, but we are exploring other options. There are some free versions and options out there. So there's Run, Hide, Fight, there's Alice, there's another thing called Alive. So there's a number of different acronyms that exist for basically the same program.
Do you know how much we spent on the Alice? Because you mentioned it was expensive. The price, you said it was expensive. Do you?
Yes, for instructors, it's about $800 per instructor.
We don't have, the question was, do we know how much it costs? We don't have the previous numbers that the district did spend, but we can provide that information. You're welcome. And can you talk about the emergency management, the county, the training, things that you've been talking or engaging with them?
So that would be along the same line. So the emergency, I've met with the county. I've also met with Chief Roca, and we're discussing having the police department come out and do the Run, Hide, Fight training with the district, which would obviously be free of charge. So like I said, there's a number of conversations that are taking place with our other partners, county and local. I've also spoken to the state police in regards to this, again, the same issue and concern.
The district is spending this money on these different detection devices due to ESSERS or title money. How are we funding the human element? Because we're going to need more people to be able to do that. With the vaping alone in 1 week, you said there was over 800 things. What was our response to those 800 instances? And are we going to have the people to monitor this and to continue the funding for the people?
So currently we're not responding to them. Currently we were collecting the data, and we're actually going to use the data to help target and identify specific areas once we decide to go live. There was, again, the big push was making sure everybody was informed, everybody was aware, and understanding how they work, getting community feedback. Obviously, they're approved and they're in the buildings now. But like I said, we haven't been responding to them, but we'll have the data to be able to respond effectively, again, to certain areas, certain times of day, with existing staff that we have currently.
Okay, but with the new detection systems like they showed in the video, you only have people
Yes.
walking through at one time. You're going to have William Allen.
Yes. Yes. So what the question was, because I don't know if everyone heard it, how are we going to have the humanistic aspect of this? We are looking at working closely with our safety officers and other providers to see how, on a startup, we can get some additional support until as a pilot. Because I agree with you, we're going to need more human capital, not just though for the devices. We're looking at hiring more social workers and more individuals and psychologists so we don't get to this place. So yes, we are. We've been exploring. I can't get into all the details tonight for the whole room, but we are exploring because I haven't presented to our school board of directors yet, but we are exploring, and point well taken. We know that we need more people. Yes, Miss Millie.
Thank you. I really don't want a mic. You never give Millie a mic. But I wanted to know if they have trauma restorative practice training the administrators and the teachers due to how I feel that when there is a shooting in the city of Allentown, kids go to school, and the teachers are not from this community, let's be real clear, how are they dealing with our students when they enter the building? And are they giving them a few minutes to debrief to what's going on in their community, so that when they do get to school and they're a few minutes late, they're not, hey, you late, but they didn't say, by the way, the SWAT was in my street and I couldn't get out. Or there was a shooting 2 houses from me and I couldn't get out. or I couldn't sleep all night because there was a shooting. How are we dealing with that? And how are the administrators dealing with the students when they come and they're acting up in your class and you're wondering why this kid is acting up and you drop the book and he's yelling? So I just want to know how we're dealing with that.
I was going to say, that's a multi-step question. Our staff are trained in trauma-informed care and also restorative practices, yes. And at this point, trauma-informed care is a state mandate. That training is provided each year. I'll turn it over to Lourdes a little, but we do have a crisis response team at each school, which would be comprised of the psychologist, school counselor, administrators. There may be a security on that team, a teacher, but if we're made aware of something that happens in the community, that team definitely kind of comes together collaboratively to wrap support around that student, to communicate with the teacher, and to make sure that we're putting supports in place, especially if there's a situation. Now, we don't always know that, but if we do, that's one way that we're able to provide support.
Community was part of a drug bust and saw our students. One of the students said to me, the officer from my school was there and he didn't even acknowledge me. He didn't even acknowledge my pain of what I was going through. So how do we, and then he comes back to school, now this man knows who he is, knows what happened, and doesn't even show an ounce of compassion. How do we deal with that?
I want to make sure I understand the question that you
The question is, how are we providing professional learning and supports to everyone in our learning community so they are sensitive to what our students are dealing with every day? How are we providing training? And thank you, Ms. Millie, for that question, because that's why I mentioned yesterday we had our council from Sweet Stevens. Every administrator, every safety officer was in the room, and they were taught about students' rights, what their responsibility is. That's why these data that we shared, kids don't feel a sense of belonging. They don't feel connected to us. I'm not gonna put, and we have a lot more work to do as it relates to that as an organization. And we're working on doing that. And that's why I said some of the things that we've explored, the professional learning and all that, we need to do a lot better work on helping people to understand our students' affective developmental needs. And so I'm gonna let Dr. Sanchez, though, tell us a little bit about what that crisis situation looks like, because she's the expert in the lead on this. That's why I build on the strengths of the people who do this work.
Good evening, and I'll walk you briefly through what that process looks like. Initially, as soon as we are informed of an event or a situation taking place in the community, in our buildings, in our premises, we deploy a team of specialists. We have counselors, we have psychologists, we also involve school-based mental health support services as part of that response team, so we can provide direct support not only to those directly involved, but to any students that have witnessed or were peripherally involved, and also to those students within the buildings who maybe were not there, were not peripherally involved, but have heard, because we know with social media, information travels fast. So that's part of what we do in terms of I will call it like a crisis response model. And we've responded to multiple events and situations, including, unfortunately, the passing of students or staff. And that is a process that we continue to improve and modify based on feedback. All the feedback that we've received tonight, this will be taken into account as well, because it's critical to incorporate. You will have a perspective on our students. We have our own perspective within the buildings, but you all as a community have also a perspective on our students, your children, and it is important to incorporate and continue to modify and improve our efforts. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Ms. Cece? Yes.
So I think two, maybe three questions. So the first question is, when will the school board be voting on this? When will it be introduced, and when will the final vote be?
So we've made some presentations to the school board of directors, and we wanted the community here to see what we were thinking, what our recommendation will be. And there's a meeting that will be held on Thursday, on the 12th of October.
Okay. And so the 12th is the final vote?
If the board votes, yes.
If the vote,
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Gotcha.
There's a special meeting on the 12th.
Second question is, does this OpenGate company, which seems like they're owned by CEIA USA, do they currently or have they had any contracts within Lehigh County with any police departments, or are they brand new to the Lehigh Valley?
I'm not sure. Do we know the answer to that question?
OCHEA is the OpenGate device itself, but that's not who's selling the product. The product is actually being sold by a company who sells specifically to schools. OCHEA, though, is one of the longest and most well-known brands of weapon detector systems. So it's.
Do you know if they currently have any contracts with entities in the Lehigh Valley? I'm trying to point to conflict of interest.
Okay.
This specific company, as far as I know, they do not.
Third question is.
Excuse me a second, Ms. Cece. I want to make
yeah.
sure we answer your question. I just wanted us to go back to the slide because there were districts there, so I'm not certain because, you know, I'm still kind of new to the area.
Yeah.
And so, but we will find the answer to that question.
Cool. Thank
okay?
you.
Okay.
And then the third question is, if the board decides to vote yes on this on Thursday or potentially whenever that meeting is, how will situations be handled in which, say, there is an unsheltered student who has a fork, a knife, and a spoon, and it puts the detector off, or there's a culinary student who has a knife for LCTI, or when I was on the school board, we had to vote on a young lady who had scissors, and she was a cosmetology student, and they expelled her and put her in alternative ed. So how will those situations be handled?
So we have clear policies that are in our school code of conduct as to what constitutes what you can have in school, what's a level 3 offense or level 4 offense. And of course, it's situational. I mean, if students coming in and says, okay, I had a culinary class, of course, we're gonna look at and say, and I had to bring this in. Hopefully they don't ask them to bring knives. And there's, of course, the knife has to be a certain length and blade and all that kind of good, 2.5 inches. So, but we will look at things situationally. We don't just say, this is it, you're out. And so since I don't know what's happened before I got here, I'm just talking about since I've been here, we've walked through. But Mr. Pasquale, you may have a more detailed answer to that.
I think Dr. Burks is.
But the Chromebooks will be an issue. These items should be. So that's what we did as a way of an assessment. So to answer your question directly, in our high schools, way of an assessment. So to answer your question directly, in our high schools, we know time, and I'm tired in the mornings. So we are aware that one.
The alerts, they actually coincide with our camera systems. Security will identify the cameras, be able to see who entered, who left, and then go and then physically check the location to see who's there and what the actual cause of the alert is. So there will be a physical person that verifies the alert.
Okay, we have one question left because I want to do a little wrap up and honor your time because we said you will end at 7:30.
So I have a couple. The first question is, do we plan to have detectors at every door in the schools that we plan on having them in?
We are going to take the recommendation of the vendor that says, based on our research, here are the areas, are the high traffic areas where you can get people through more efficiently without bottleneck based on what the recommendation is. But of course, if we have the resources, we can put one in every door if we can find the money to do that. But we were going on the recommendation of the people who have been doing this.
Okay, so my next question is, what other safety systems will we have in place if we had a shooting that took place? So let me give you an example. Since we will not have detectors covering every door, which means we don't have doors that are monitored, it is a possibility that someone can open up another door and get a weapon in. So how would we protect those who are how will we protect those doors, guard those doors? That's one. And then two, since there's only one way in and one way out, let's say if a shooting was to take place, more harm will be done because everybody's coming out of the one entrance. So how do we protect those people as well?
Our vision is not to have one door, but multiple entrances and exits, because we have so many entrances and exits throughout our schools, especially our high schools. So, but I'm going to ask Mr. Pasquale, because again, he's the retired police chief and all that. I'm the educational leader. Mr. Pasquale.
So you have, your question is kind of loaded, so to speak, in the way you're asking it. But to answer your question, you have multiple access points, entry points. You can't cover all your access points. You're covering the most used entry and exit. You're going to screen as many people as you can. We have other systems that we're looking at and working on. So we have door alarms for doors that are not supposed to be used, but they're not locked, so people can, in the case of emergency, leave through any exit. Again, but if they were opened when they weren't supposed to be opened, they are alarmed, and it should be alerting people in the area that, again, the door has been opened. So that should get attention. I'm trying to think what your other part of your question was. What was the other portion of your question?
Hold on, because I got some.
The weapon sensors, or the vape sensors too, they also do have weapon detection capability. So if there's a shot fired, they will also indicate as well the area and location of the shot fired. So obviously you didn't see that on there, but that is also another capability of the sensors that are in the bathrooms.
So that wasn't the other question. The other question was, since students are coming out, right, there's activity in one entrance, one exit, or the highest traffic place, right? How do you protect those that are coming out of that door? What safety measures will be in place if someone decides that they wanted to just shoot up because everybody's coming out that door? So now they have a target point. If they wanted to shoot someone, they know what door that person is going to come out of. So what systems do we have in place that will protect those people that are coming out of those doors?
We have unarmed staff. So, I mean, you tell me. So unless you want to arm our staff and unless you want to go that direct, but I mean, we don't have armed staff. So if you're talking about a shooting that's taking place, we're relying on Allentown City, we're relying on our partners and our school resource officers for an armed event.
So I want to make it very clear, and the reason I'm asking these questions because they're important questions, and we need to have an understanding of what we're going into, right? So we don't want to just put a Band-Aid on something that is bleeding. So if we're going to take the time and say our investment is going to be in these detectors because we want to keep students safe, we have to have a full scope of what that looks like. So if we can't guarantee that we have the proper staff and that all doors are protected, we cannot say that everyone is going to be safe.
We're going to put the conditions, the systems and structures that are based on best practices. We'll continue to provide professional learning for all staff as relates to emergency lock-ins, lockdowns, all those evacuation procedures. We have lockdown procedures in place that we teach to all staff. They continuously implement them throughout the year. We are also part of the county where additional training, we did send a team for additional training with the police chief. And I don't know if anyone in the room was a part of that training, off the top of my head. But so we are exploring all options, and it's going to take lots of efforts, not just one. I agree with you. It's not just the metal detector on the door. It takes everything, all the mental health processes that we suggested here. With the vape detectors, it's going to take cameras, a comprehensive approach to this. We also have a district safety task force, and that task force has also been looking at safety measures as well. So we want to get some feedback from them and all the things that's said here. So it's going to take multiple aspects to keep everyone safe. Okay, this is really, because I don't want to keep this group because we said it was going to end at 7:30. So if your question could be just a one question, yes. Yes. Yes, if someone, his question was, if we detect a gun on your child's, on a person, a child, on a student, do we alert the families? Absolutely. But if we think the child, we have reasonable suspicion that this child has a weapon, we're not going to say, stop, we're calling your mother first. We are going to ask the child, do you have something on your person? We'll wait for a response. They say no or don't comply, we're going to ask them to put their bags, open up your bag and all those kinds of things. Because that's all we need in that. We've been kind of wanting to explain this a lot to all stakeholders, including the children. We're not attorneys, we're not judges, we're educators, and all we need is reasonable suspicion. Now, we see 10 boys walk out of the bathroom, and they see the security and administrators start running, then there's reasonable suspicion that you're doing something wrong. Because if you're not running in the classroom to get to class before it's late, to sit down and learn, what's happening? That you don't want us to, you're not in your classroom, and you're running from us. That gives us reasonable suspicion. But we will inform families. If the police are talking to your child, we have established that we're going to call the families, and we've said this to our administration. If you know that a police officer needs to talk to the child, and if it's not imminent danger, call the families. Let them know. But if it's a safety matter, we have to do what we have to do to keep everyone safe, but protecting the students' rights. Okay. So, quick plus deltas, what went well? We have time for at least two. What went well? Just a shout out. What went well in this session? People, all of you showed up. Give yourselves a round of applause. One more. What went well? Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, some deltas. What do you still need from us? That's our delta. What do we still need? And not the lovely ladies in red. What's the delta? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. What do we still need? One more. Follow through. Thank you. So we're trying to be consistent when we bring you together, and we will. We've demonstrated that thus far, but we will, but I appreciate that. We will keep you informed. Thursday night, if you like to watch our school board of directors meeting, it will air, this time is 6:30, right, Ms. Ramos? 6:30, so that's on this Thursday. Additionally, we offer online, on-demand tutoring. Online, on-demand tutoring for free for all 16,000 plus. So for your friends, families, cousins, people say, well, my son doesn't know how to do math. Free tutor. Just have to go online. A live person will appear. We are also going to engage in strategic planning. If you are interested and if you want to volunteer in any aspect of this district, there are sign-up sheets outside. This is my offering plate. I honor each of you. I appreciate you for being here tonight, and I'm so honored to serve with you. Have a fantastic evening. All this will be on our website.